Hey, what's up, comrades? We're taking a little diversion, somewhat, from the normal X-Men that you see, only because we are focusing on Spider-Woman. She stars in a couple X-Men-related books on her end, and then gets a guest star over in the X-Men during this period of random bullshit that's going on. So this is a Spider-Man arc, or Spider-Woman arc. And go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and we'll begin. So Spider-Woman, or Nick Fury's hanging out in like one of his secret lairs or whatever, and Spider-Woman shows up. At this point, she's still a member of, I don't know if she's a member. At some point, she was a member of, what's it called? S.H.I.E.L.D. But here, it looks like she was just working. Yeah, it looks like she was working with S.H.I.E.L.D., and she's done with it. She's moving on with her day. And Nick Fury makes some sexist comments, and she calls him out on it, and then he claims that he's not sexist, and I don't really give a fuck. But essentially, you don't think I'm cut out to be a mercenary because I'm a woman? No, because you're too kind-hearted. And I'm like, that's kind of the same thing. But at this point, we get like a lot of her backstory, which I didn't know this stuff, which is good. Apparently, she was raised by that. She has unknown parentage at this point, and she was raised by the High Evolutionary, who, as his own daughter. And for those of you who aren't aware, the High Evolutionary, is he Reed Richards in this? Not Reed, Franklin Richards. No, I think Franklin Richards is that other guy. They look kind of like similarly. Anyway, so she was raised by the High Evolutionary and is like Animen or whatever, and Camelot or whatnot. And at some point, she decided to leave. She fell in love. She accidentally Viper blasted somebody, which makes you think she's a mutant, but maybe she's not because the High Evolutionary or something. Anyway, the people found out, thought she was a witch. They drove her off, and then a member of Hydra picked her up, and she worked for Hydra for a while, and including capturing, what's his face, Colonel, what the hell? Nick Fury, Colonel Fury, at some point. And then she decided Hydra is evil and left and joined S.H.I.E.L.D. And then we meet Valentina, La Contessa Valentina Allegro de Fontaine, which is a hodgepodge of names. And she's one of the agents for Nick and his girlfriend. And she's like, I'm going to get out of here. Adios. And then he's like, all right, Spider-Woman, where were we? And then she's gone. And he's like, whatever. Good luck, babe. And then we get like some taunting from Morgan Le Fay, who's one of her enemies. And then she's like traveling around. We flip over to the whole reason we're talking about this in the first place, which is Tom Cassidy, Juggernaut, and the introduction, the official introduction of Teresa Rourke, who is Banshee's child, that he is unaware of at this point. We then flip over to, and they're planning to steal vibranium from America because it's the most precious metal, right? Wakanda forever and whatever. So Professor X and Storm and the X-Men are just hanging out doing X-Men stuff and showing off their powers and just kind of being identified as like, hey, there's a mutant in this area, we should go check it out. Meanwhile, back at with Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, she heads home and she's sharing a flat with some actress lady, and she's getting ready to take a bath when like a whole crew shows up, and her roommate Lindsay's like, hey, we're gonna throw a party, it's gonna be the bee's knees. And then Jessica's like, oh, that's cool, I don't have any clothes. And she's like, where's some of my clothes? And she goes and they like chit chat, and she meets a handsome young boy named David Ishima, who's the landlord of the place, and he takes her to his like Japanese garden in the basement of the house, or this like complex that they live in. And they're about to smoochy smooch when she gets like, my head. And he's like, what? I can't hear anything. And she's like, oh, I have really good hearing. And he's like, let me get you some aspirin and water. And she's like, yeah. So she transforms to Spider-Woman and takes off to see what's going on. She gets to the bank and she runs into Black Tom, who she knocks out. And then she sees Teresa trying to break through a vault. They get into a little cutesy battle. And she's holding her own pretty well. Teresa seems to have a lot more control and power than Banshee ever did, to be completely honest. Maybe it's just the way she's written here as a villain. It's one of those things, right? The villains are always strong and they join your party and you're like, this is what you got, Magnus? Fuck you. You were so much harder to kill than your present capabilities. You motherfucker. Anyway, Juggernaut sneaks on up and thwats her real good into a wall and then smashes her again. And Black Tom is like, oh, good job, Juggernaut. You knocked her out real good. And Juggernaut's like, should I smash her face and kill her? And he's like, nah. If we get arrested for larceny, that's one thing. Getting arrested for murder is like a whole different animal. And it's like, fair. When Jessica comes to, the police are there and they arrest her for breaking into the bank. Rah, rah, rah. Next issue, number 38. Jessica escapes from the police pretty quickly, and then she recalls what happened in the last episode, heads home, talks to David and Lindsay again, and then the X-Men show up, namely Aurora, Warren, and Petra. And they are chit-chatting, and they go, hey, Jessica, we need to talk. And they go up, and they're like, we know you're Spider-Woman. We're the X-Men. We need to team up and figure out what's going on with this mutant thing. And then Jessica's like, all right, guys, it was fun for the party. I got to go back again. I got to disappear into the woods. And so they all fly over to the ship that Black Tom and Juggernaut and Teresa are using to escape. And it's, I can't remember who's carrying. I think it's Storm's carrying Peter. And then she throws him, and he turns into Colossus and goes right through the ship, sinking it. Or starting to sink it. And he's like, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, well, good thing I can breathe underwater, which we established in a previous arc with the Doctor Doom. Anyway, we get some battles. Teresa and Jessica try to fight, but Teresa apparently has the ability to control people's minds using waves from her voice. So again, she's like 1,000 times stronger than Banshee, and stronger than she'll be in... Is she in New Mutants? I don't think she comes in until X-Force, if I remember correctly. Anyway, Angel goes to rescue Jessica, and then he gets like brainwashed as well, thinking he's being attacked by Sauron. Remember, there was like an issue with that from way back in the day, because him and Sauron had like a bad outs, and then Angel almost joined Magneto, but it was all a secret trick, and yada yada yada. That you go back to I think it's the Savage Land arc, the first one or the second one, or the Sauron arc in my playlist, and you can learn more about that. Anyway, coming back here, Colossus and Juggernaut fight. And Black Tom is like, ooh, that Teresa's going to get Storm. And he goes out and uses his light powers from his staff. And the X-Men are having a real hard time. But then Colossus uses brains over Brawn and tricks Juggernaut into falling into the ocean. Don't worry, Juggernaut comes back somehow. I guess he can swim real good with all his armor and shit. Okay. And then anyway, he's immune to Black Tom's power, so he just knocks him out real good, which leaves Teresa. And Teresa and Jessica are fighting each other. And Jessica, again, uses sneakery to have Teresa attack like a mannequin of her, essentially, that she constructed with her suit, and then blasts her real good and knocks her out with her Venom Blast. Hooray, the X-Men won. And then Jessica and Storm decide how they figure out how to use their powers combined to trap Juggernaut in like a magnet or something. So Colossus goes to fight him, and then they zap him, and then it doesn't quite hold him, but then the ship kind of explodes and everyone runs away. So then we have Black Tom being turned into the police, and Teresa's like knocked out, and he's like, oh, I'll kill you for hurting my niece, and yada yada. And Jessica's like, calm the fuck down, she's fine, she'll wake up in a few minutes. And then Jessica like shames him. You should be ashamed of yourself for making your niece a criminal like you. And he's like, you're right. So then he confesses everything. So then Jessica and Teresa get off, and the X-Men take Teresa so she can go hang out with her dad, Sean, in the next issue we're going to talk about, which is issue number 149 of the X-Men, I think. Which is the last issue of this arc. Anyway, so then everyone's like, hey, let's be friends and hang out. And we get a nice shot of Jessica afterwards walking up to her new office as a private detective in the state of California, which I could have sworn they were New York, but I guess I was wrong. So the X-Men got here real fast. That, or this is much later. Anyway, the last issue of this arc is X-Men 148. Yep, 148. I was one off. All right, so this one starts with, we're back to Cyclops and his girl, Lee, as they found this crazy island thing, and they're exploring it a little bit, and Lee tries to get some of that Cyclops dick, and he, like, freaks out, and she runs off, and then he gets mad, and he trips and falls, and then he blasts the sky, and then she comes back, and they hug it out. Meanwhile, like Westchester County, Wolverine is hunting Nightcrawler for training, and he's able to track him down, and they, like, pat each other's back and talk about how great things are. Aurora, meanwhile, back at the mansion, is pissed off because Angel's bad-mouthing Wolverine behind his back, and Warren and Charles are having like a back and forth, and Aurora steps in, and Angel's like, I don't know if I can be part of this team anymore, and he flies off. And then Charles is like, I have some concerns as Angel, but he needs to calm the fuck down. Down in the basement, or somewhere, Sean and Peter are working on... they're in the hangar working on something. I don't know. It's like a big metal thing. And maybe they're rebuilding this thing. And guess who's there? Ileana, everyone's favorite magic, one of my favorite X-Men. She's precious right now, and she's talking about how great it would be if she had, or how funny it would be if she had metal powers like Colossus, and they're having a good time. And we find out that Charles contacted their parents and was like, hey, I know your daughter disappeared, but she's cool. Don't worry about it. We're good. Nightcrawler tells Sean that there's someone upstairs to meet him. He heads up. He sees this pretty redheaded girl, and it's Teresa York. And she hands him a letter from Black Tom, and he's like, holy shit, you know I'm your dad? And she's like, I do. And then they hug it out, and then everyone's like cheering from the other room, except Moira. She's super sad upon this about the whole thing. And oh yeah, Jessica's here. So this happened like right after the last issue of Spider-Woman, because they like just got back, I guess, and are hanging out. And then Aurora goes out to talk to Moira, and Moira's jealous because she loves Sean and wants him to be happy, but you know she can't have kids anymore because we all know what happened last time that she did. It was no bueno for anybody. Toto's no bueno. And then Aurora feels the same way about Stevie Hunter. She says that, but they hang out all the time. I don't know. So I disagree, but Moira's having like a real hard time with it. I think it's more about being a mom and having losing Sean to his daughter, right? There's some jealousy there because now they're not just like alone adult people anymore. Meanwhile, we finally, for the first time, we get to meet Caliban. He's in the sewers, he's climbing out, and he senses the presence of people just like him because he's a mutant. Meanwhile, at the top of this skyscraper, there's a club going on, and Dazzler's about to perform. And who comes to see it? Kitty, Aurora, Stevie, and Jessica Drew, and the ladies' night. And they're all having a good time. They're all dressed to the nines, like very pretty dresses. It's fantastic art. And they're all chit-chatting about stuff when Caliban walks up, and Jessica says, I think I hear gunshots. And they chit-chat about it, but then Dazzler comes on, and she starts singing, and she's the best. And then Caliban keeps moving his way up, and people keep screaming, and the X-Men plus Jessica and Stevie start talking about it a little more. And at that point, Kitty dives under the table and disappears into the ground. And she uses her powers, and Dazzler creates a distraction because she makes eye contact with Storm, and they like are simpatico because women power, sisterhood. I don't know. They really get simpatico later when Dazzler officially joins the X-Men under Storm's leadership. But so Jessica and Aurora head off to help find Kitty, and then we get into a battle with Caliban, and he just seems like he's strong and shit. He's wearing like a full body thing. We don't see his like beautiful white under face, his actual face, for a while. But he knocks Jessica out the window. He knocks Storm down. He grabs Kitty. He's running. Dazzler learns that she has the power to calm people down with her music light show business, which is good for her. And then we get another fight with everybody, and we see Caliban is in his albino-ness, and he's sad because he just wants friends, and everyone rejected him, and they're like, hey, we're sorry we fought you. How about you come join us in the X-Men? And they hear police sirens, and then Caliban's gone. So the girls like quickly dress back up, head upstairs, and hang out with Dazzler and just chit-chat about Caliban, and this causes Kitty to have second thoughts about how badly she treats Nightcrawler because of the way he looks. Lastly, heading back to the island with the thingamabobber, Lee and Cyclops are sitting around talking about they're hungry and thirsty, and then Lee's like, oh, hey, there's somebody here. We're saved. And Cyclops is like, ruh-roh, because dun, 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 it's Magneto. And he says, I bid you welcome to my new home. And, you know, I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. And then Cyclops is like, ruh-roh, this is going to get real bad real fast. But we'll follow up with that later. Okay. So, yeah, that was fun. I actually really like Spider-Woman. I really liked her from I think it was a New Avengers run when Wolverine, it's her, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Luke Cage, Iron Man, and Captain America, and Sentinel are the Avengers. And it is like my favorite Avengers team, period. It doesn't last very long, but it's super cool because Spider-Woman's one of the best, Wolverine's awesome, Spider-Man's all right, and then Captain America and Iron Man are obviously fucking awesome. And Sentinel is like crazy Superman in the Marvel Universe. I heard somewhere they're going to put him in like a movie. Maybe that new, or by the time you hear this, it'll be old. I don't know when these videos are actually going to come out, but that new Thunderbolts movie, which is sad because Sentinel's great and he should just have his own thing where he's like Dark Superman fighting the Void. Anyway, go ahead, like, share, subscribe, and I will catch you all later.